All right, here we go. Today we have former LA police officer Ruben Palomares, who went to prison for being the mastermind of a violent band of rogue officers who committed a string of armed robberies across Southern California. Welcome to Vlad TV.
Hey, thank you for having me here.
Well, very interesting story. I want to start in the very beginning.
Okay.
You were actually born in Mexico.
Yes.
Okay. And you didn't really know your real father.
No. Never got to know him.
Okay. And why was that?
When my parents came to California, I was about a year old or less. Mm-hmm. And my mom was running from a man that had kidnapped her and held her hostage in Mexico for 2 years and had raped her. My older brother was born out of that rape.
Your mom was held hostage and raped for 2 years?
For 2 years, yeah.
How old was she?
She had to be like 17, 18.
Damn.
She was young, yeah.
Wow.
The guy kidnapped her. So he had a family, though, and he kept her there with his wife and kids, and he was abusing her. I didn't find this out till I was 17 years old, though.
Okay.
But my mom told me the whole story that they fled out here because the guy was still looking for her to kill her and take my brother away from her.
Oh, they had 2 kids together.
One, my older brother, and the guy that rescued her was my real dad.
Oh.
He found out that she was there being held against her will, kidnapped, abused and everything. And he was a rancher from that same area in Mexico. And he said, I know what's going on with you and I can help you. And she said, well, if you really mean that you want to help me, I do want to leave this, but I want to escape. And then she said that this guy's going to go hunting for a few weeks. During the time he leaves, I can meet you at the river and you can pick me up and take me and help me. So that's what happened. My mom ended up grabbing my older brother, and going down the river, and he ended up picking her up and taking her to a ranch to keep her there while they try to help her find her family, which was my grandfather, my grandmother, and her siblings, who had already moved from Mexico to TJ, but she didn't know. While she was there with my real dad, he ended up staying with her for a few months, and of course my mom said that nothing's for free. The guy, my real dad, ended up forcing himself on her too, and he ended up getting her pregnant. She didn't know she was pregnant yet. After 3 months being there, she did say, hey, you were supposed to help me take me to find my family. So he did. He leaves her at a bus stop with my brother in her arms, and she's already 3 months pregnant with me in her womb. And then my stepdad's the one that meets her there, and he's waiting for the bus, waiting for his girlfriend, and he ends up feeling sorry for her and helps her out. And then from there, he starts helping her try to find her family, which he ends up staying with her and does take her. I'm born in Mexico at that time, and while that happens, it takes a time for my mom to find out that her family's in TJ. It's different. It's in the 60s, I was born in 69. By the time they go to TJ, I'm close to a year old, and my mom is still running from this guy. So they come to they end up leaving and landing in LA, which is South Central. My uncles already had living there, and I have uncles and aunts are living there, so they ended up moving in with them and establishing themselves there for a while.
Okay, so she moved the family across the border illegally?
Back in the days, it was easier to cross over. Who knows?
Right.
I never asked because it was back in the day, people were crossing back and forth like nothing.
Sure.
And all they had to say is citizen, and they'll let you walk right by without even paperwork.
Okay, so now you're in this family with a stepdad.
Stepdad.
And there ends up being 10 kids at one point?
At one point, 10 siblings, yes. I'm the second oldest.
Okay, so she had, 8 kids with
8
this
kids
guy?
with my dad, yeah, my stepdad.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So 10 kids, 2-parent household, but your stepfather was always getting drunk and losing his job.
He was an alcoholic, and he was abusive, and he was pretty much drunk most of the time. And when he did have jobs, of course, he was always drunk, or he'd end up losing a job. Or one day, I know he got an injury from work, so he wasn't working because of the injury, and he was still drinking a lot.
Okay, so you're growing up in this environment in South Central Los Angeles. What was the gang situation during that time?
There was already a lot of gangs. There was Florencia 13, Florence 13. From a lot of Crip blood gangs were already forming in that time, but we moved from there to Huntington Park. So pretty much from like 6 years old, 7, I started pretty much getting familiar with the area of Huntington Park, which a lot of Florencia was there. And 18th Street was close by, so they were like rivals. And they didn't have too many rivals, but there was 18th Street and Florence back then were the newer, bigger gangs out there who were at war with each other during the time I was being raised in that area.
Well, at 12 years old, your uncle ends up getting killed.
Yes.
During a drug deal, I guess?
I didn't know until I found out a little later. I found out he was meeting some guys at a bar. From what I heard, the story is he had cousins and they told me, hey, some guy wants to buy some cocaine off you. We're going to set up a deal at the bar in South Central. And my uncle took the 2 kilos of cocaine, met him at the bar. The 2 guys that were with him, supposedly his cousins, took off to the bathroom. When he was waiting for them, the one guy pulled up and shot him, took his coke and left him, and took off, left him to bleed out right there and die. Yeah.
Okay. What type of effect did that have on you?
A major effect because I was super close to that uncle.
Yeah.
To me, because my stepdad was abusive, I didn't have a relationship with my stepdad. I didn't know he was my stepdad until I was 17, but I also experienced a lot of abuse and rejection from him. So I never knew what love was. I knew what hate was. I knew what violence. So with him, I never had that connection. I never had that bond. So my uncle was someone that I connected with, and I felt like he was giving me some type of love that I never had from nobody. And then when he gets killed, of course, that affected me.
Well, with all those gangs around, were you being recruited at all?
No, but they were around recruiting people, but I just never liked gangs. And I had uncles that were already involved in gangs. Mm-hmm. And some of my cousins were moving into the gang life already. 41st Street, Colonial Watts, they were already joining gangs. I just couldn't stand gangs. I didn't believe in being told what to do. I didn't believe in that structure of being controlled. I just believed that for whatever reason, as a little kid, I always believed in being my own man, being my own person. And gangs to me made me think and believe that if you're there, you need that help from these other guys to fight your own battles, or you need that to feel strong and special or good by going and following all these big dummies trying to tell what to do. And I didn't want to fall for that. I wasn't for that.
Well, as a teenager, you started boxing a lot.
I started boxing a lot, yes.
Right. And at 16, you entered Golden Gloves.
At 15 and 16, I fought the Golden Glove, yes.
Yep. And you were trying to make it into the 88 Olympics, but you weren't actually a citizen at that point.
I was a permanent resident, and I had already been representing the United States, boxing in the United States team. We ended up fighting the Mexican Olympic team, and I fought representing the United States at 16. They let me, but I was a permanent resident. I already went through my process. I didn't know that I had to get my citizenship. So at 87, they kicked me out of the team and told me I wasn't a citizen, so I needed to get my citizenship, which pissed me off because I had already represented the United States. So yeah, I didn't get to go to the 88 Olympics. So I did get my citizenship. Right after that, I got my paperwork done. I got my citizenship. And next thing you know, I was trying to get ready for the 92 Olympics.
Right. You actually sparred with like Oscar De La Hoya,
Shane Mosley, Rafael Relas. I fought that guy too. I sparred those guys too, yeah.
How was De La Hoya back then?
He was good. He was all heavier than me and taller than me, but we had some good wars in the ring. It was business. We were in that ring to beat each other up and get better at our skill. Right. So that's what I went in there, I sparred, and we weren't talking. We were going to spar. Yeah.
Okay, but ultimately you didn't make it into the 92 Olympics.
I was supposed to go, and I ended up breaking a finger, broke a thumb before the trials.
Oh.
Before the trials, I got injured, and that's railroaded my plans for that. So then I decided to take my next career goal was to be a police officer for LAPD.